What's up, guys? Welcome back to another track guide for the average sim racer. Um, this one's going to be LMP3 at Road Atlanta this week. It's not fixed; it is open, but I think the concepts apply to fixed as well. As always, this guide is not going to be the absolute fastest lap you can possibly ever do. We're not setting lap records here. What we're trying to do is inform sim racers on how to drive consistently and achieve good results. Because consistency in this space is going to be your results. Absolute pace with no consistency is not. So, um, as we look to this, I've only done about like 15 to 20 laps. I hopped on to just do this session, and like my first lap here was my fastest one. I'll show you this one because I think it's a better lap than this one. I will probably get faster throughout the week. I anticipate wherever you start, you will also get faster as you work on these concepts. So worry less about the time. I think this is a good range to be in. The fastest I've seen is a 13.8, and that was cooking. Um, so I wouldn't really try to aim to that, but if you can get to there, great. I want to try to be in the low 14s by the end of this week as I prep for PRL, the racing league. But um, I think if you're in this space somewhere around here, you're fine. So as always, we'll show the lap first in its full speed, and then we will talk through it. So let's get started. All right, so let's talk about it. This one can probably get a little long, so I'm gonna go a little faster than maybe I would normally, but I want to get through this for you guys. Really, the first part of this track, the first half, is the hardest part. So we'll spend a lot of time on that, and the second part, I mean, half of that is a straight, the other half is like a compound corner. So we won't spend a bunch of time. So as we approach turn one, kind of looking at turn one, if we look at the cockpit view, you can't really see where you're going, but you know you got to fly up this hill. So what I would say is the goal is to kind of open this up a bit by going over here. You can't go a ton over here. I think maybe I can go. I think you can probably go like middle of the car over this line or on this line. Anything over that, I think is an off track. So keep that in mind. But as we kind of approach this part of the track, and we're looking in the cockpit view, you want to open it up and then give yourself a bit of break. You're not trying to slow down here. You're trying to make the car go through here with as much speed as possible. Coincidentally, you just have to slow down a little bit to do that because the car is going really fast by now. But you're not braking for this corner. You're kind of like spiraling the car in this corner. So we're going to brake a bit. That gets us some weight on the nose, and then we're just going to start to roll the car in. Now, I do this a little bad. I carry a bit too much speed, and you'll see me kind of like, 2%ing the brakes a little bit. These things happen. Like I said, this is not like a perfect lap. Like I don't have it a bunch of hours. Actually, it's my first time driving this car on this track, so um, it's not perfect, right? But your race is not going to be perfect. We want to understand what should happen and then what can happen, and kind of like understand both. So we're going to stay in fifth. Don't go down to fourth here. I think you slow down too much by trying to get it into fourth. If you go to click fourth and it doesn't go into fourth, in your mind, you're trying to slow down too much. Just kind of think about that. The car won't let you go into fourth when you can't. So keep it in fifth. and you just try to roll speed through here. So a little bit of brakes, and we just kind of roll in here, and then overlapping my inputs a little bit. Try not to do that, but you want to start to roll on the throttle as the apex comes into view. And your goal is to run nice and tight to this apex, and then start to run up the hill. You are going to go wide. I realized I was going a little too wide, so I was doing this little weird brake thingy. Try to avoid that, but it ended up working out, and I kept a decent amount of speed. I think I gained over my previous lap like 2/10 here. So there's still more time to find, but even doing this in a mistake, you can do pretty okay. So you're gonna fly up the hill. Now, very notably, you cannot see the rest of the. You can't see anything really. It looks like you're climbing to the clouds. Try to get the car over to the middle, and then you know that there's a left hand coming up. Practice this is really the only way to figure this out is by practicing. There's no good like turn marker here. Like this is where I need to turn in. As you start to crest, you got to turn in. As I crest the hill a bit, I'm starting to lift the throttle to settle the car. Because if we go over there full throttle, the car's going to get very light, and it's going to make this part very difficult to do. Because now we need to start feeding the brakes in, because we need to run nice and tight to this left hand. If we look at, this kind of shows it. You can see that you need to go over to the left quite a bit. You can't see the right yet, but this is kind of what you want to do. But if you're going, 210 kilometers an hour, like you're not going to be able to just stab on the brakes because you're still turning and you're going really fast and the car's a bit light. So this part of the brakes is just to settle the car down while you have a bunch of wheel. And as you straighten out, you're going to feed more brake in. We kind of keep it nice and tight to this curb. You can run over it. It's okay. And then the next part of the track is very interesting because after this is full throttle. So you want to spend as little time here and as much time on throttle as possible. If we look at the chopper view, you can see kind of on the rubber line what you need to do. You need to run the car over here and clip this a bit. You can't clip the curb a ton because you will get an off track, but in a race, just get the off track, right? Like, don't try to save the car because I think trying to save the car will result in a spin or crashes or whatever. Also, one thing to note is coming over this hill, a lot of people can't do this corner properly. For whatever reason, right? Take your time. You're not passing here, right? So be mindful of people that are not quite getting this right, because they can collect you. So you're not passing here. There's a handful of passing zones on this track, and we'll talk about them. This is not one of them. Stay tight behind the person here through this section. Don't try to, if they go super wide, make the pass, but you're not going to make a pass into here, thinking you're, like Schumacher or something, right? So don't worry about it. But as you can see, we need to kind of, roll the car to the right. It's really important here to spend as little time as possible. So we're going to brake. We're going to roll the car over. You can start to kind of see where you need to be. And then as you can see, as we get really close to this, the car's settled enough. I'm getting on the throttle. So I'm going to start to pick up the throttle, bump over this curb. And as we settle, we're going to go to full. And, whoops, I broke it. Okay, so as the car starts to settle here, we're going to go to full. And so what you can see is you can't see. So you can't see what else you're doing here. Just know to keep this really tight to the left. And then again, you're going to come really, let's take a look at it from this view. You can see kind of what you need to do. You don't necessarily need to go all the way to the left here because the way the track is angled down the hill, there's no real benefit in doing that. You kind of fall into a bowl in the middle of the track. I would stay, this is about as far left as I would go. Shortest distance possible, right? And you don't need to open up this right a bunch. But run through here. And you want to run it nice and tight into this right. So if we look at it, this is kind of what it looks like. Don't be scared here. Stay full throttle. No lifting at this part of the track. Stay full throttle. And just be very smooth on the wheel. If you do that, you should be okay. The car has plenty of downforce. Run it nice and tight over here. We touch a little bit of grass. It's okay. up on that curb and then off, and you can see the track goes and does this kind of thing. So follow it. Go straight as possible in here. We're gonna run it over this a little bit. You don't need to be so much on this curb, but what you do need to do, we think about compound corners, right? Corners that turn to another corner. Spinning a lot of time straight, you're not using the grip of the car, of the tires. What you want to do, if it's a left into a right, you want to be left, 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 and then right. You don't want to do straight, then right. There's a bunch of there's grip here. It's hundredths, maybe a tenth, but it does add up, especially in sections where there's a lot of compound corners, and especially in slower sections. So, not especially important here, but it's something to work on, and it's pretty easy to work on here. But then we want to run it nice over to the right. This one's really important. Really, really important. Get the car over this curb. You are going to brake on this curb. You're not braking super hard because you're going uphill, but you are going to brake on this curb. You need to. There's grip though. So don't worry about it. Brake on this curb, and your eyes should be over here. This is very tricky. You can really mess yourself up here, but you can also lose a lot of time if you don't do this properly. So do this with speed. Brake nice in a straight line, and then we're gonna come off the curb. Keep a little bit of weight on the nose, just a little bit of weight because it's gonna bounce a bit. And then as we come in to this part, we've carried a lot of speed up the hill. Once you get to about here, it's full throttle, and you are gonna run it nice and wide. Now here's where you can make big mistakes. If you are still a bunch of wheel turned like to the left here, when you hit this, you're gonna, what's it gonna do? The car's gonna spin. So try to get as straight as possible here and just open your hand, like loose your hands. Let them be super light on the wheel. You're only just slightly guiding the car at this point. You're not turning because you're gonna get so unsettled. If we look at the chopper view, this is kind of the angle that you have. You have plenty of time to turn the car more to left. But the risks of turning it to the left too early are spinning and slowing the car down a lot. Both of those are really bad. You can run fully over this curb, not a problem. So we want to run nice and far over the curb. As you can see, the wheel's just guiding it back to the left, right? We're doing pretty good here. And as we get to this part of the track, it's basically a straight line. So you really want to have been on full throttle by now, because you can lose a ton of time here. But you can't really see it from here, but just trust that it's there. Don't go too far to the left. I think even like a fraction of a tire on this grass is an off track. So, once you get to this point, the car's pretty settled, right? You can, if you're getting too close, make sure you turn it. Make sure you turn the wheel. Okay, as we approach this corner, this is a very important corner as well, or section of corners. But again, it's not really a passing zone. So you can defend really well here, but it's not really a passing zone. So down this straight, if you got a better run than someone, this would be the time to pass. But if you don't have overlap by now, I wouldn't send it. It's not really worth it, in my opinion. Nice and wide out to the left. Where we're gonna brake, our braking marker is right in between these two dashed lines. So right when you go over the first one, you can start to feed the brakes in. And we're going to carry a decent amount of brake pressure as we drop into the camber of the corner. Hold it. You can turn a little later here. I haven't found that it's that much faster because of how the corner's cambered, but experiment. It depends on your driving style. For me, I can kind of, imagining that this was a hairpin, I'm doing a V. We just don't do the other side of the V, right? So I just kind of roll as much speed in here as possible. And then once we get down to about this apex curbing, I'm going to start to feed the power back in. The car is now kind of flat in a section that is a bit of a bowl. So we have a lot, you can see the rubber on here. We've got a lot of traction here. So I'm on the throttle. Really important. Really, really, really important. You need to get back to full throttle for a little bit because you're going uphill, but you can't stay full throttle for a long time. Like, as you can see, the car's going 160 kilometers an hour. And you got a really tight corner here. So I'm going to show it from this view. You want to try to get yourself parallel to this curb. When you start to brake, you probably won't be. The braking marker is really weird here. This is another one that I just kind of use my rhythm. Like, when I start to see this crest, I need to be on the brakes. That's pretty much all you have here. But we're on the brakes, not super duper duper hard. And then as we start to come to the end of this curb, we're going to start to roll the car into the corner. I wouldn't do any later, but roll it in. There's a moment of coast as I have a bit of a oversteer moment because I rolled a bunch of speed in. But then you want to spend as little time as possible here. So I am now back on the throttle. And I'm going to run it nice and wide. The traction control is going to be very upset with you. Try not to be in it too much, but it's kind of inevitable. I'm running it out here. You can even honestly run it further out to the left. You know, there is probably some time to find there. But it's really important to get on throttle early here because you have this really, really, really long straight. This is where you're going to pass people. If you are in a situation that, you know, someone is on the inside of you, or you're a bit behind them and they're in the middle of the track, go to the right, wait, kind of do an over-under kind of thing, and open this up so you can get a run on them. Let's fly down here. Very long, I mean, very, very, very straightforward part of the track. As you start to crest the hill, get yourself to the right. Okay, so this is probably like a place where you can lose a lot of time, and this is an overtaking zone. You can be you can overtake on the inside if you're very brave. Outside is good too. I try to do the outside to cut the person off on the inside of this corner. But either works. It just really depends on you. Because you can go outside here and then kind of over under and come on the inside. You have to play around with it a little bit. But what we want to kind of do here is as we approach this 100 marker or this first dash line, we're going to brake nice and hard. Full brakes for just a little bit of a section because we're in this compression. So we shouldn't lock the tires. So you use that to your advantage. And then we're going to start to roll the car over to the right here to open this corner up. I'm still full brakes now. And I'm going to start to bleed out as the track starts to like smooth out. Because you're coming down this big hill. Then you're in this compression. And then the track smooths out. We're at this track smoothing out part. A little bit to the right to open it up. You could probably go more. Like I have more, but it's a fine line. Because if you touch that dirt, you're going over here. So, don't take too much risks. And we're just trying to roll as much speed into this first part as possible. Like, don't slow down a bunch here. Roll the speed in. The car has the downforce. Roll it in. We're still carrying the brakes, and we even get a bit of oversteer because we have so much brakes with the engine braking from that downshift. But we're just trying to keep our speed going and run it nice and tight over here to the left. I think the off track is like 2 tires over this. So be careful. Don't get on the dirt. But you can use all this curb. And then now you want to be picking the throttle back up. Again, it's compound corner, right? So, whoops, wrong thing. Compound corner, you want to left, 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 right, right? So you don't want to be going straight here. So as you can see, I'm going a little to the left still. Little to the left, little to the left, and now back to the right. And you don't want to lift fully. You want to back off the throttle to allow the car to turn here. And then, as you get the car turned, back on the power. Run over that curb. And run it nice and wide over here. You can use all of this. Be on the throttle. That is the most important part here. This is almost a straightaway. It's a long, long power zone. And then the last corner is really easy. But be careful with people trying to shove moves here. You just kind of drive straight from here. I would drive straight over this hill. You don't need to go all the way to the left here. Kind of middle, left middle. And just as little steering as possible to keep your speed up. And that's it. That's a lap of Road Atlanta. So this video is getting a bit long. I want to thank you guys for watching. I wanted to really explain Sector 1 in detail because it's pretty much the whole track at this point. But thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know how you get on through the rest of this week. See you guys.